Welcome to this exciting session we've got for you today. Very excited to bring two guests on and to be hosting this session today. So with me today, I have the amazing Angela Kim, who's got a vast experience. And I'll ask Angela to give us a quick background to herself and what she's involved with at the moment and the exciting topics we're going to be looking at today, Angela. And I'm also joined by the amazing Zehra Çataltepe. So, Zehra, very excited to have you on the show. We've known each other for a few weeks now. And again, there's going to be some very exciting topics. And I think what we really want to be looking at through this session for people that are joining us and tuning in today is we've got a few topics that we're going to be going through in the time that we've got together. But really understanding the democratization of AI, championing AI success, how we can have diversity, how we can look at AI through a new lens, how we need to be more focused on certain areas. And to do this and to achieve this in this session today, we're going to be looking at the kind of plans and dreams that we've each had, me included, to how to talk about AI, what we've got involved. And I'm very excited to hear your answers, Angela and Zehra, but also looking at the changing conditions and the changing landscape that AI is bringing to us today, right? Because it's such an important area to consider and so important to see the accessibility to tie in with aspects such as Women AI Month and how to champion the right people and champion the right guys to enable us to do these exciting new innovations and to do it in a great way. So I think I'd really love to start. I mean, I can introduce myself quickly. So I'm Tom Allen. I'm the founder of the AI Journal. We're an open source publication to talk with everything AI and emerging tech focused. I don't naturally have a technical background, but I get to learn very quickly from the great people and the very kind people that contribute to our platform. Angela and Zehra, we'll start with you, Angela, but I'd love to get a background on each of you, why you're excited to be on this session today, and maybe give the audience a taste of what we're going to be talking around, what's your passions in this area, and why we've put this session together today, please. Angela, starting with you.
Thank you so much, Tom. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are listening to. Hi, audience. It's such a pleasure to be here with amazing, the guest, Zehra, and also, the moderator, Tom. And, I'm just, really excited to have a really good chat with this, amazing people, and, for about, AI for good. Because as you can see that, I'm a data scientist. Currently, I work as a director in data analytics and AI at Deloitte. And also I wear a very important hat as a Women in AI ambassador in Australia. And also I'm the chief education officer at Women in AI Global Think Tank. And what I do is I work with amazing people to achieve and to empower more people into AI so that we can achieve really AI for good in the community and for the citizens. And I think I'll, talk through about, the things that I'm passionate about, the things I believe which is important with Zehra as I go along. But over to you, Zehra.
Thank you so much, Angela. Tom, it's just awesome to be here with you guys. And again, good the time of day for anybody who is watching us right now. I am a computer scientist turned into a researcher, into an academician, and to an entrepreneur. So I'm the co-founder and CEO of TAZI AI. And we have created a machine learning system that allows anybody to create AI solutions, to deploy them, to put them into production, and to monitor them, and to also update them. And I'm saying anybody because I'm aiming for my mom as the last end user. Right now we are at business analyst level, and it's getting easier and easier. So I would love to share what we are doing and also how that ties up to democratization aspect that Tom just mentioned. So I'm very excited to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And I really am excited to delve in because I've got some questions I really want to ask you both and kind of have an open discussion today, have a great conversation about it because two people with some brilliant experiences to bring to the table for us and the people listening to learn from. So, Angela, I'd like to come to you, and then to Zehra, I'd love to come to you after on the question, kind of see where we think with this. But I really want to know, when you were talking around your backgrounds, awesome to see what your story's been so far. what kind of plans and dreams did you have about AI when you were starting? And what was your roadmap to where you are now? Was it as expected? Because I know personally, I didn't expect what I've built to turn into what it's built, and it's given me a massive eye opener to the world of AI and emerging tech that's gaining a lot of traction at the moment. But I'd love to know from your angles, what was it that got you in the air and got you so excited by it and got you so passionate and to the roadmap that you're on at the moment? I'd love to know where it all started.
Thank you, Tom. That's a really great question because you know, it all started with a passion, right? I follow my heart because when I was growing up from South Korea, the Gangnam, so all Gangnam style. That's where I grew up, and I was very fortunate to have amazing mathematics teachers. And then I fell in love with mathematics, a very young age. And I just, enjoyed mathematics, but I didn't really think about AI because back then there was no AI. I didn't have a concept about AI.
Yeah.
But as I grew up, I continuously loved mathematics. And I came to Australia when I was year 10 in high school. And again, I met amazing mathematics teachers, and they really showed me what fun it is. And I was thinking, oh yeah, I might do some study at university around mathematics, but still I didn't think about AI. But at university I met these professors and lecturers, and I was thinking about doing actuarial, become an actuary. It's a number profession as well. But somehow, second year my university, I really fell into quantitative, analytics and statistics, and then I found that how data and how the equation, it's algorithm, right? That is based on mathematics can really help business and eventually solve the problem for the economy, and then can contribute to the society. When I realized that, I was like, wow, this is fantastic. This is something, I can really contribute and I can enjoy because, I follow my heart. What I want to do is really helping people with my talent. And it really it was just in the area that I was thinking, wow, this is great. And one thing led to another. I didn't really work hard. Oh, I want to do AI. It just happened very naturally. I just met great teachers, great colleagues, and great, environment. And that's where I am. So that's why I feel I'm very grateful that given the opportunity. And that's why I really get involved in all this, work, how to return the gift, given to me, to the society and to the community and to the people. And, that keeps going because I still follow my heart and really love and enjoy what I do. And meeting amazing people like yourselves, it's just a beautiful opportunity.
Oh, I love it. That's a great way of looking at it. I think it's the best part as well, quickly before asking Zehra, that we get to meet such fantastic people, because it's how you get to learn the best lessons from meeting people who have walked a different path. But I'd love to hear your story as well, Zehra.
Sure. So, I grew up at a little town in the middle of Anatolia, and my father was a carpenter, and he would ask us math questions even when we were very little. I think he was babysitting us. Now I look back at it, while my mom was, outside at the fields and everything. So he would just keep asking us questions, and we would just answer them. And I never thought as a girl I would do math. I thought that I could just answer anything and everything, and no answer was foolish. And I grew up in an environment where I could make mistakes, like burn my mom's pots and pans and break down the sewing machine. But nobody just told me not to do anything, and I think that was a mistake. But I could just experiment and keep experimenting, and then that's how I learned that I could just make mistakes and it was fine. And I could ask questions, answer questions, and it was fine. So that, I think, was a huge advantage when I look back at it. I had a physics teacher that made me really fall in love with math and physics. And then at the end of college, I was lucky to have professors who were AI experts, and they were really enthusiastic about what they did. And I was also excited about the Japanese project. I think it was called the Fifth Generation project. It was about expert systems. But sometimes when people have great ideas and dreams and they express that idea, even if that idea doesn't happen, people follow that idea and dream. So I had the dream of having AI that was like humans while I was graduating from college. And then I got my PhD from Caltech in computer science on AI. I actually worked then in industry at a startup, Bell Labs, Stream Center, and then Siemens Corporate Research. And then I became an academician. And in all of those roles, I did research and development, both research and development on making AI learn better. So how can we, for example, make AI models learn better when there is very little amount of data?
Yeah.
How can we make them learn from different kinds of data? How can we learn from each other, from human beings? So I did research and implementations in all of those areas, consultancies. And the more I did these consultancies and research, the more I realized, dreams were here, but when you try to implement something, there was always a lack of talent, lack of ability of the models to adapt to change, the organizational challenges. So my husband Tanju and me, we decided to co-found TAZI with the purpose of creating that ladder, that stool, which enables people to step up, and even if things are changing, they can create an AI that works. Even if things are very difficult to explain, AI can help them explain stuff. So we had that dream of continuously learning models, and then with our customers' contributions, actually, because they asked the right questions and we were brave enough to answer them. They asked for explainability. I remember our first insurance customer telling us, "Yeah, that's great. You're a trustworthy person, but I can't use this because I don't understand how it works. Explain it to me." So we did. And then they said, "Well, yeah, but now we want to give it feedback because we understand how it works and doesn't work, but we want to make it better." I'm like, "You're not a data scientist. How are you supposed to give feedback to an AI model?" I said, maybe we can actually make you do that. And then we actually created these feedback systems, and all business usable, because we quickly realized that it was just not sustainable to have AI systems created by developers or data scientists only. We had to include everybody for AI to be accepted in the organizations and to be useful and to keep being useful. So that's my story. And actually, my dream was like to make AI like humans.
Yeah.
And now my dream is to make AI very useful for humans, like iPhones, like cars, like AI, like Angela said, AI as a tool to take us from one place to another. And then with that tool, everybody can create their dreams and implement them. So that's my dream. And I'm really loving it. I mean, just being an entrepreneur, it's just so awesome. I just cannot describe the fun I'm having. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I love it. It's a lot of fun being involved in these kind of areas. And I always say that the key point that we exist for is education, right? To understand and to help people understand these core topics that you both, Angela and Zehra, have just touched on, and very importantly so. And I always think if I went back to my housemates that I lived with at university, they were into advanced maths and they were doing all sorts of things I didn't understand at the time. And I wasn't very good at physics at school. And I think if I'd gone back now, I'd be probably annoying the teacher with so many questions because it's such a passion of mine. And it's weird how my time was just a little bit later, and maybe it's to do with the application of how I learned and compared to how you can learn today and being immersed in topics, which I think is a real good point, because it is an area that we're looking at, education for coding and AI, how to, like you've just touched on, Zehra, with your first customer, of thinking, well, how do they understand it? And as soon as they understand it, they can have a better meaning. And I think that is a common, at least my own opinion, that we're facing today, that people have the classic conversation with me about AI and the classic ideas of what it's going to do. But it's completely understandable, because you get scared or you don't understand what you don't know. And until you do, you're not going to have that mindset. And I think that's a real important angle that I would urge people that are listening to look at. But I want to look at something first. So Zehra, maybe we can come to you first and look at, where do you see the obstacles are today? What obstacles do we have? And you touched on it briefly in your last point and the very great introduction, Zehra. But seeing AI solutions in deployment, having it as an idea is one thing, getting it to deploy and then getting it to scale two separate things, and it's the hardest thing that anyone will say is to scale something. You might have a great idea or a great business, but unless you can scale it, it's not going to be that valuable. So where do you think that we can, what is it that we need today, and what is it that people listening need to consider when overcoming these obstacles, and how to implement and scale with AI models?
Tom, great question. So, I mean, first of all, ocean wasn't filled in a day. I mean, we should always remember that.
Yeah.
So you have to start from somewhere. And what we see in organizations is they have a dilemma. Should I get enough data? Should I create my AI models? They're like, oh, I'm not ready yet. I need to create more data. And I have seen huge organizations having 2 different data lakes, and because they couldn't connect those 2 data lakes, like they couldn't do things about their customers that they could have if they could connect them. So I'm totally against like creating data oceans or lakes and then wait to do the AI. So you really need to start small, but AI is actually a transformation problem or playground, in the sense that what we see is AI becomes a part of the team, part of the business processes. So when you need to create an AI solution, you really need to understand the stakeholders, their problems, and how AI can help them solve those problems. And instead of telling our customers, here's a platform, just a set of Legos, just solve it for yourself, we decided to actually come up with point solutions, so that in an organization we go to business units and we tell them we have solved these problems before, it worked for others. Do you want to see if it will work for you too or not? So that will it work for me is a difficult challenge, and we solved that by means of creating a methodology, so that within like weeks actually we are able to have a very agile set of conversations with the stakeholders and determine whether there is enough signal in their data, whether the data is good enough, because sometimes you might have good data, but the models might not be accurate enough to result in useful business consequences. And then also take actions, because AI can tell you a lot of things, but if you're not taking actions, then it doesn't work. So the data cleanliness part, the models and the actions, and for all of them, you need to include stakeholders. You need to include people like from IT, the business experts who know the processes, so AI can actually implement them and also change them, and also the actions that need to be taken. So we found out that creating solutions and offering those solutions as templates to our customers worked really well, because then they can just tick the boxes and say, hey, I understand why it works, how it works, because of explainability. And I understand what kind of actions I can take and what kind of actions I cannot take. So even that is a huge piece of information. And then we almost always start with just one solution, and then businesses want to expand because they see the value, and then other departments start, saying, hey, we heard that you have this solution. How does it work? Can you tell us more? And then we have like other solutions popping up in the organization and value being created more and more. And one last thing, we found the maintenance of AI solutions to be a very important part of the puzzle, because these guys, the AI solutions had to deal with changing conditions. Business problems are always changing. So sometimes, like people want to train an AI model for one goal, and then they change their minds and they want to train it for another goal. So AI has to be really maneuverable, and for that it has to be owned by a lot of people. So we ended up actually training our customers to use this platform so they can create their own solutions. It's usually more like we are a training wheel for the first solution, and then our customers, business analysts, are trained so they can create the next solution. And I found that to be very effective, because AI is so close to your heart, to your data is like your dirty laundry, and your gems are in there. So you don't want just a consultant, someone from outside, to see that. So we just start and then hand it over to the organization so they can actually evolve and become an AI-enabled organization. And I'm very happy to be going through these processes with our customers. It's really a mixture of platform solutions and also training and integrations, so that there is adoption at deeper levels than just one solution.
Love it. Angela, I'm keen to see what you think from, and I think that's a brilliant roundup, Zehra. So thank you for sharing that. I completely agree with the idea of giving the customer the power almost to understand it at the same time, and to guide them on that journey rather than just not keeping them informed on the data decisions, on where they're getting the data from, how to use their data properly, and as you were touching on, what's most suitable for that business. But Angela, you've got some great experience looking at it from various different companies and various different roles that you have, which, you know, from what you've been involved in various industries. I'd love to know what you think, if you see the same angle as there, or maybe there's another one that we haven't considered yet. What do you think to companies, to people trying to overcome these obstacles?
Well, I really enjoyed Zehra's point. All these different perspectives. As always, they're all valid, and I really agree with all the these important points. If I can add the little little note, there is because having worked at banking industry and insurance industry, I've watched, I've seen, I've delivered, and I deployed enough models, and we learned. I learned through the experience, right? So we all know that just giving the tool to the business and then just going away, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because that's why Zehra's point is really important and it's really valid, because it's almost like I plant the tree here and I'll be walking away and I'm expecting the plant is growing well without nutrition, without water, nothing. It wouldn't happen, right? So you need to pay attention and you need to look after it. So that concept applies to AI deployment and AI project in the business as well, for many reasons, right? That includes the entire ecosystem. The people, the talent pool is so important, because these days, how many the data scientists can you afford, and can you available? Do you have enough data science? And that's why I really resonate Zehra's point about how TAZI, the tool, does really amazing work, because we really need really intelligent tool that can really look after from end to end AI journey, right? And also, often people forget, we want to do AI, we have to use AI, but why? Because the fundamental question should be starting with, why do we need AI, right? And how it can help our business, right? Because eventually what you want to do is you want to serve your customer with the right product and service, right? And that should be end goal. Not using AI. AI can't be an end goal, right? AI is a tool. Maybe in the future, AI can be some different form of technology. It might evolve, right? But human is continuously working with a machine, and human and machine collaboration. Why? Because the humans SME knowledge, all this professional cognitive ability is so fundamental, which brings back to the point about people are afraid of AI technology will take away my jobs. It will replace more intelligent job. It can utilize humans skill set, right? So which brings back to the point about it's going to be continuous education. The government, academia, and the corporate, all these different players in the ecosystem should work together, try to continuously learn from each other. And if there's AI that can help for us to learn from AI as well, and make AI learn as well, right? So it's like almost like iterative learning ecosystem that you bring all these learnings and apply, because we are like the model you built and deployed and you walk away, can't expect it's going to work exactly the intention, the purpose, the goal you want intended to be working in the next year, even after 6 months. You need to closely monitor, and that skill set is rare. Not everyone knows how to do it, the best practice. So it's really important for the business. Why do you want to use AI? Why do you want to do AI project? Why? And then closely understand end goal about how after deploying the AI model can really move the needle can bring the benefit for the business and then customers, right? And then how can we really do that in a really smart way, which means you have to bring the partner, and you need to partner with vendors and all these really available the tools provider, and really try to really empower, we call it community of practice, right? So within the organization business, all the analysts, right, they're not all data scientists, but with the right support, they can train up to be a citizen data scientist, because you need to know how to use it correctly. Otherwise, you're giving a fire and you expect, okay, you don't burn with it. But if you use fire in a smart way, then it's very, very useful. You can do amazing work, right? So that's kind of, the analogy I'd like to use, because, analysts giving the data and tool and then expecting, oh, they'll do whatever. It's a very dangerous idea. That's why there's a point about supporting and guiding and continuously. It's not just one-off guidance and walk away. You need to be continuously managing if the data we are using hasn't changed, the model hasn't drifted, and then all these, important points you need to metrics you monitor is working and is doing what it's supposed to do. So it's very, very long-term conversation. It's not just you deliver a few models now and just, walk away and then you expect it's going to be do what it's supposed to do, right? So it's very iterative approach. And the good thing is that a lot of people, like Zehra's voices, and Tom, you're one of the advocates as well, people realize, now the best practice is maintaining and continuous learning and bring everyone to the table. The last point I'd like to highlight is the team you are working on, AI project should be really, diverse and inclusive. You can't expect one kind of, background people, everyone, super, clever, went to same school and have the same profile background, and then bring the same idea, can expect to really understand and uncover all different nuances, because at the end of the day, you want to serve the world, the, society where it's a real world, not just made up with one kind of people, right? So that's why people are like, AI, professionals are really, raising the awareness of diversity and inclusion is very important. It's not because that, that's just a philosophical fact. It's practically is really important that it's not optional anymore.
Can I just add something to this, Tom? I'm just so excited. Angela, the iterative approach, but what I found out is the speed of iterations is very important. So if you have a data scientist, who knows about the data science, the data scientist, and I'm a data scientist too, right? I have many years of being a data scientist and then being an entrepreneur in me. So as a data scientist, if I make a model 95% accurate as opposed to 94% accurate, I'm very happy. I could just work for that 1% for months and I'm not going to be bored. But the actual goal of business is really not that 1%. It is really the ability to see where the model is failing. And AI model is just learning a part of the world, whatever is in the data. And there are so many things it doesn't know that the human knows. So it's very important to know what AI can know and then what it doesn't know, so that the human being can actually monitor what's happening continuously. And it's like in Matrix movie, there is a cat and then Neo says deja vu. And it's a cat that appeared again. It's just like that. In business, if something is wrong, the business person knows it, but data scientists will not know it. Data scientists will be focused on solving a problem. And it works very well if you are, differentiating one, fingerprint from another fingerprint, in a very restricted domain. But if you are in a complex business world, which continuously keeps changing, you have to have that human who knows how to write the AI, who knows how to master the AI. And what we are striving for is to make sure that the requirements for that writer or master is not to be a data scientist or a PhD in data science. Just knowing your business and knowing how to read and write data, I think. It should be necessary. That should be the goal, because we don't want anybody to be coders. We don't want anybody to thinking if then this, that this then this if this then that's. because the real world is very complex and it's lovely. We want to live our lives the way we live, and we want AI to serve those lives, not shape them in boxes, actually. So I just wanted to add that. Thanks.
It's a great point. It's a number of great points as well, because you touched on a lot of points that hit home where I am, Zehra and Angela. So looking at it, really mentioned it, people not properly considering their AI strategy or what they want to get from it, and people not properly looking at what are the right people to have involved. There's a load of angles that I'm really excited about, especially you touched on it, Angela, and I'd love to know what you think about this. But if you don't have the right people, if you don't have people that challenge other people, how are you going to get to a product that's going to help that kind of person? Because I think if you put me in a business, if you put me into a retail business, I'd be awful. I'd be let go within a couple of. It's just not an area I want to be involved in. It's not somewhere I'm proficient. But look at me in the media space or the space that we're in. I do pretty well, and I'm a pretty good master in that area. And I think it is one of those things, is we're both alluding to, all three of us are alluding to, that you can't have the same people, the same strengths and the same idea and the same layout and thinking that's the same business case, because you'll never get to what's going to apply to the various industries there are today. And I also think it's quite interesting. I'd love to know both your points, and Angela, to come to you first, because you were touching on it around how we can, or how businesses, how people listening can be more inclusive, not just from the statistics we sometimes see today, but also from having those challenging ideas and having it, because a challenge against each other, I don't see it as a bad thing. I think it's a good way to create a new situation, a new idea, and that's how you come up with, whether it's better customer service, a better product, or a better piece of software, whatever it is. But we'd love to know, because you see it, that there's that, yes, jobs are coming, AI is taking people's jobs, especially within automation, but there's also a massive digital skills shortage, because it's creating more jobs than it's taking, because there's more. So I always think there's this conundrum that people don't understand. And I think that is why, as you both touched on, it needs to be inclusive, and it needs to look at various people with various different experiences, different backgrounds, even if data or analytics. My background, I always say it, I'm very heavily involved on projects, and I don't have a maths or science background. It's not on my agenda, but I do make it a very core passion of mine to learn around it, to really understand it, so we can help customers, we can understand our audience, we can talk around topics. But I'd love to know what you think, Angela, and then come to you, Zehra. But where do you think it is that companies need to be more inclusive across various different factors to be able to be successful today, and to be successful in the years that are coming? Because we're only changing quicker and quicker at the moment.
That's right, Tom. Thank you. I love that question. So it is really important that we need to realize hiring extra 3 data scientists or data engineers wouldn't solve the business problem, and it wouldn't make the company into very advanced AI company tomorrow, right? So you need to realize that everyone, almost like everyone within the business now, has to be, in a certain degree, they need to be data literate, and they need to be technology literate and AI literate, right? So how can you really create learning ecosystem within the organization that you can really continuously help the employees understand that they need to take a learning journey, right? So we are not expect them to build a model, but we want them to learn within their role how much do they need to know, because within the AI project, for example, from data science project perspective, then there are different teams involved from the beginning to the end, right? So even though like you are working in a call center, right, you're updating the data, and if you are working on the data to provide something to the other team, then the team should be aware of where the data is going to be used, so that they know how to manage it and how to utilize it. So I think Zehra mentioned about the ownership, right? So I think ownership becomes very important, and that comes from top down. You need to have a strong leadership and clearly dictate really what is the rule to go by, because it is so important. You can't just do like in the middle, right? So you have to really protect the customer's data privacy, governance, and ownership is so important, because that really is closely tied to the data that is going to be used for building AI model. So it's very important. And also within the organization, every needs to go through the learning journey in terms of what you know in the past few years. You can't just, I learned enough, then I'm just do whatever I'm doing as of yesterday continuously. You can't do that. You need to continuously learn. To do that, you need to really inspire the employees to have a curious mind. To do that, you need to really share the purpose of the organization, because it's not like you're working like in a 9 to 5 and then, this is it. Today's citizens are more savvy and people are purpose driven, because they know YOLO, like, right, you live only once, right? And you want to have a value what you are doing, because longevity, you're gonna work longer lives as well. So you want to inspire your employees to come into the journey, and then you give the purpose so that you can really grow together, so that you can the product and service you're building based on AI can really serve the customer in the right way, in a correct way, right? And to do that, of course, you need to have an open mind, and that's why to bring all different, diverse and inclusive the employees are very, very important. And you need to make an effort on consciously. You need to make a conscious effort. It doesn't just happen miraculously. You have to really AI is like, building AI is like a team sport, right? And then you have to think about, you need all different sorts of people. You don't need like 10 managers, right? Or 10 coaches, right? You need a nutrition, you need physio and chiro, and you need all different background people, same. So you need to consider the how can we create a truly diverse team. Of course comes with the recruitment. So HR talent team should be aware of, is there any bias in our recruitment system. And if they happen to use AI system, they need to be careful about it, because they need to check if the screening process, everything is the model trained on the data that's used for only one kind of people, so that we are not recruiting enough females, or not enough like in a particular minority group. You need to pay attention, because that's why I often talk about technology with empathy. Because it's so important to have empathy. Because why? Without empathy, it's empty, because you will make a lot of mistakes that you made before. To avoid that, you need to be considerate, and that's what empathy is about. You need to consider and respectful to other people and community, and really try to think through, embed all this purpose during all this operational process, and then why we are using this AI, and why it needs to be inclusive and more diverse. Then it will all be connected and come together as we go along, right?
I think that's a great answer. I'd love to know what Zehra thinks on top of that. I can see Zehra smiling, so I feel she's going to add to it in a very great way. But I really agree on that.
And Angela, thank you, Tom. I mean, Angela, you established such a sound base. I have just a few things to add to that, really. What I see when people talk about biases, which is like there is bias in data sets, because bias shows how people lived so far. If women, for example, got less salaries than men, you see that in that data set, and then AI might learn that bias and might function in the same way if there is bias in there. When you have a diverse team of people who are not just using but creating that AI, then that diverse team can, first of all, see at what places, and the devil is really in the details, because if something is really good and really bad, a rule-based system can also identify that. But there are little gray areas in life, and that you are making some mistake if you are deciding this or that way as a human. It's just not fair to leave it to AI, especially trained on biased data sets, to make such decisions. So they need to be observed. Those decisions and why decisions are made need to be observed by a diverse team of people who are open to see where things are not fair for particular groups of people, and also having groups of experts who can communicate among each other. because if there is a problem with biases, that needs to be brought up to regulators, to the data owners, to the stakeholders. So all that need to be communicated as well in the ways that human beings can understand. So I also value that in terms of diversity. And one last thing, that's something I learned as an entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, there are huge companies that are established. They are like elephants or dinosaurs, and you're like a little fly trying to find something that they haven't done before.
Yeah.
So organizations with their AI solutions, in my mind, they are creating micro startups with every solution, because they are solving things in ways that have not been solved before, and they need very diverse thinkers who are open to be out of the box, but while being out of the box, who are open to being fair, who are open to who are considering the customers and users long-term benefits, not just short-term benefits. And that all happens with only with a good and diverse set of people. Because I don't believe in just like Asimov did, saying three rules of robots and then they will be fine. I mean, I don't believe in that. I don't believe that we can just put some rules on AI and expect it to be good. Only humans know what is good, and it's an evolving thing, to be very frank with you. Ethics, those the morals, they always evolve, they keep evolving. So I believe in putting humans, but diverse and good thinkers who can see AI, who can understand AI, and who can direct it in the right way. And for that, you need diversity. And only with diverse teams, you can find opportunities which are awesome for your customers that others couldn't find, because they were walking in the same way that they have been walking for years. So diversity, as Angela said, is not a luxury anymore. It's actually a must. So and whoever is more diverse, in my opinion, will be more successful, and that includes not just including women or men or people from different races or genders or backgrounds, but also from different kinds of education. Putting someone who knows how to do interaction design together with a data scientist or with a legal background person. I mean, all of those, I have seen them to create really great results in different business problems.
I think that's a great point as well, because you've answered my next question, which I was going to ask Zehra and Angela, which was around, what happens when our AI doesn't work, and how do we get around it? And I think you kind of answered it to give it. Obviously, we're very early, I think, in the stages of AI. I mean, the world's been around billions of years, and AI has been around since 1953 or 1952, whenever Turing came up with it. But I think we've got a long way to go and a long way to learn on how to implement it and how to develop it. And I think it's a great point. I think it was Estee Lauder who said he'll never make a decision without a woman present at the table, because they, just like someone in a different industry can spot something, a woman can spot something, a man can't, and vice versa. And I think it's same to what you were touching on, department heads, whether that's like I wouldn't spot things, chief financial officer wouldn't check. So finance isn't my background, but it's why you have these people surround you, especially to your point, Zehra, as an entrepreneur, to help people in areas you don't know, and Angela, to your point, with different consultants that you work to, so you can have the creative people and the people, not that you aren't creative yourself, but they're creative in an area you're not, and it's okay to have strengths and weaknesses. And I think people forget that. They think it has to be, I need to know everything about this certain. I don't think we do. We're in a very early learning stage, and I think it's great that if you can show that transparency, it creates a lot, at least with me, personally speaking, if someone's open about that, I trust them a lot more, and I'm probably the one that's going to do a lot more with them compared to someone who thinks they're a know-it-all. And it's the exact same when we're in AI and when we're in these new emerging areas. But I would like to ask, as a wrap-up question, maybe 60 seconds each, Zehra and Angela, what would you say to people thinking about going on their AI journey, either as a business or an individual? What would you say, and pick, because I know two are separate, so you might think, well, as an individual or a business, what would you say they need to consider? Is it to look at how to make, as we've discussed already, Angela and Zehra, with how to making your team more diverse as a priority, or would you say it's something else where what recommendations do you have in 60 seconds? What would your closing advice or closing question be to people that are on this journey? Angela, starting with you.
Thanks, Tom. 60 seconds, right?
Sure,
so
feel free to go slightly over if you want.
That's okay. I'm joking. So Tom, that's I'd like to share my view about put human in the center, because I often say human-centered AI, not just saying it for the sake of saying it, but genuinely human-centered AI. Because often I think we touched on earlier with Zehra, in the beginning, why the purpose and goal, right? So always think about AI for good is really the overarching theme. So AI is a tool, and as I mentioned, it might change into something different in the future, right? But really try to understand what your customer wants and bring the data and how you can use the data and use the tool and AI to really serve your customer in the right way. And then really provide a more very intelligent customer experience. If you try to frame your the AI journey around that, I think then you can think about why you need a diverse and inclusive team, and why you need to have the community of practice that you need to manage the AI model, and why it's so important, and why you have to think about to bring the right people. And sometimes you have to partner with vendors, and you have to really consider all different options. Don't think about only you yourself can solve the problem. And also already, look around, there are other business, you look at the best practice, but try to tailor it to your own business. You can't just copy and paste. You need to think about, because we are talking about humans, right? So
100%.
with that in your mindset, then bring the right people, right? Diverse and English people, then you will find a solution that's suited for your business and your purpose and goal. That's my 60-second comment.
I love it. It's a great point. I'm keen to see what Zehra is going to follow up with, but I think that's some great recommendations, Angela. Thank you.
And have fun on the way. Enjoy. Make your employees enjoy, and you enjoy the journey. That's most important.
I totally agree. That like having fun is the most important one. Considering that people change jobs so often, I highly recommend, first of all, using a platform, as opposed to having this Python code here, that Python code there. That doesn't work in organizations that have to have a steady journey. Number one. So have a platform, number one. And number two, make sure that you are able to build models really fast with your team, because it's like, it's really like a dance. While you are creating your first AI model, those communications, how you create the model, what is wrong, what is not right, it's actually, you are doing a lot of iterations, and those iterations are actually practices for later. When you deploy the model, when something goes wrong, that team, that platform will actually be able to just go there and fix whatever is not working in a very short time, because your agility in deployment, initial deployment, actually carries on to your agility during while the model is live as well. So make sure that your team knows and understands how the model works for business purposes. And know that your business purposes might change. So if the AI model cannot fit those changes, then you should not be using an AI model. So make sure that your AI model is able to follow your business purposes. And I believe that initial phases of creating the AI solution is really the exercise that prepares you for changes that wait for you ahead in the game. Use a platform, make sure that you train your team well, and make sure that the iterations happen really fast, because sometimes having an AI solution that does not work is not a luxury. It's not going to be a luxury when AI is in very critical systems. So when it breaks, you have to make sure that you can fix it, or you have alternatives. As Angela said, sometimes you have to have rule-based systems, you have to have humans, you have to have simpler models, alternative models. All of them has to be ready. When things don't work, you have to have reliability of other systems that can take over. so that the downstream systems that wait for your input will keep working. So those are my more than 60-second advice. Thank you so much.
I love it. I think it's brilliant. I'd just add to that as well. I really my key thing, and it's second to what Angela and Zehra, what you both have said, but it is really think about your roadmap, your business roadmap, because I see it with RPA more so than anything else at the moment. People bring along licenses and they use RPA and they don't need it. It's not part of their roadmap at the moment. It's not to say it can't add benefits. Of course it can. It can add real great benefits. And it's the same with AI. If you're not properly equipped for how to handle, whether it's bringing on data scientists or properly having someone looking at the platform and the topics that we've looked at today of having those new ideas, you might be losing, because it's not something that you actually want to be involved in just yet. But it is to closely think, to really think, what value do I need to add? And I think AI, as everyone knows, it's a massive help. But that doesn't mean to just rush in and think I'm just going to go buy the nice new shiny toy like it's a brand new car and you can go get it, because there's a lot of aspects you need to consider. And that's what I always tell people. And it's never to upset people that sell the software, but I'm thinking from a business, you should want to truly help them. And I think that is why I was so happy to hear what you were saying, Angela and Zehra, because it's a journey that you need to take them on. And it's a journey, just because they can't get involved in it just yet doesn't mean that you can't help them get prepared for that next step and to help them with what they need to achieve and whatever industry they're in, how it can help them, what all the benefits it can bring. But if you don't get your business right first, AI is not going to do massive amounts for you if you don't know where you're going, you don't know where your team's going, and to all the points we discussed today, which I think is brilliant.
I mean, people are brilliant. That's what I see. I mean, in conversations, we actually change the next state of the world because we learn from each other and we decide together. And I think AI guided by people who are, in my opinion, by default brilliant, will actually open a lot of new things that we can't even imagine today. So I look forward to that future.
That's right. And also culture is very important, because of course human beings are not perfect, right? But great leaders and great culture brings the goodness out of everyone, and that becomes culture. And that is so really great to see, because I've experienced amazing leaders really setting the scene, and that is that is what leadership is for. And the AI really surface up why we need really great leadership in this era of AI. And that's, sorry, I keep, going on and on, but I'll be quiet now. But I really enjoyed talking to you, Tom and Zehra, and the audience. Thank you so much for listening to us as well.
Yeah, and I'd like to say just as well, where can people find you, Angela and Zehra? Where can they get in touch with you if they want to find out more, carry this conversation on with you, and find out about how your businesses can help them with their journey and what they can do to reach out and get involved with each of you? Angela first, then to Zehra.
LinkedIn. You can find me LinkedIn, Angela Kim.
Easy enough to do. With you, Zehra?
LinkedIn and info@TAZI.ai. It will find me if you send something that way.
That's awesome. So we'll put them in the show notes as well when we publish this. And I really just want to say a massive thank you again, Zehra and Angela. I know we've overran, but we were just having such a good time. At least I was, talking around all these interesting points. I hope you forgive me. But to the audience listening as well, really appreciate you tuning in. And please reach out to myself as well if you want anything or anything we can do to help with where you are in your journey. If you need to learn anything or you want to find out more around the points that we've discussed today, would love to help. But with that note, would love to say a massive thank you again, and I look forward to sharing the stage with each of you again, Angela and Zehra. Been a fascinating and wonderful chat today. Really appreciate it.
Lovely. Thank you so much. Sending my love.
The same here. Thank you so much.
Take care. Stay healthy.